So, hello everyone, and welcome to Spotlight. Spotlight is a podcast where you can learn communication lessons from tech speakers and communication experts as well. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we have a very special guest with us who's going to shed light on her TED experience, as well as she's also a mind mapping coach. So, we're going to steal some secrets and lessons on mind mapping from her as well. So, joining us here today is Dr. Shipra, and she is a TEDx speaker, and she's a Tony Buzan certified mind mapping coach, LinkedIn top voice, best-selling author, and she has trained more than 3,000 students and professionals from different parts of the world as well. So over to you, Dr. Shipra. So how are you today?
Thank you, Sophia, for that wonderful introduction. It's a sunny afternoon here in Assam. I'm logging in from Assam right now, and I'm feeling great. And it's an honor to be the first guest on your podcast. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me to the show.
It's a great pleasure to have you here on the show as well as the very first guest. So I'm so grateful for that. And I remember this background story of us on how I decided to choose you as my very first guest. I see a lot of your posts related to mind mapping, and I was always fascinated by your ideas and thought process related to mind mapping. And a lot of people still don't know what mind mapping really is. So can you just shed us some light on mind mapping? So what is mind mapping?
Okay, so thank you for that question, Sophia. So before I say what is mind mapping, I would love to say what it is not, because a lot of time as a mind mapping coach, I get DMs and messages around from across the globe, people inquiring about mind mapping, and they often think that it is something related to, reading minds of other people. And it's funny that just recently the same thing happened, and somebody asked me that, Dr. Subra, can you read minds using this technique? Is it something like, tarot card reading and all, XYZ, all of that? And I said, no, no, no. And then I generally send them a list of, I have PDF that I have designed for people who come across such questions and they have some confusion. So immediately I send them this PDF where I have busted some myths and all. So that is the situation that arises. People often confusing mind mapping with mind reading. So mind mapping is not mind reading. Mind mapping is not some kind of flow chart or some kind of fortune telling. No, it's not that. It's something very different, very vast, very simple, yet very unique. And to tell you what a mind mapping is, let me share one simple analogy with you. It's about a library. Now imagine that you enter the best library of the world, world-class library that has the best of best books. And then you reach there and you ask the chief librarian or anybody there, I need this so-and-so book from this so-and-so genre by this author. And the librarian, instead of handing you the book or showing you where it is, they just point you towards a corner of the room where the books are all scattered, piled, and all messed up. So only two situations can happen in that particular time. Is one, you go there and you waste a lot of time finding out whatever you need. And the second is that you give up. You say, okay, I don't need it anymore. Same thing happens with our brain. Each and every moment of our life, like right now, you're talking to me, we are having this conversation, our brains are picking up information. Maybe I have a plant here and okay, my brain is picking up the information, the aroma from there, every moment of our life. And all this information goes into this big library that we have here, the wonderful library. And if we do not organize it properly, our brains are going to be just like that, messed up library. And whenever we need information, the brain will either keep searching it and then give up. Okay, I have forgotten. And we generally say, I have forgotten. You might have come across phrases like, I remember this, but right now I just can't recall. So it's all because we do not know how to use, or we have not trained our brain properly to organize the information. And that is where exactly mind mapping helps us. It helps us to think radiantly, or what we call non-linearly, and organize our thoughts, our notes, or anything in a manner that you can present it just like this whenever you want. So your retention, recall, the way you organize information, all of that becomes very easy, I would say, and a joyful process when you start mind mapping.
That's an amazing explanation of mind mapping that you just gave, Dr. Subra. So I really like the analogy that you gave about the library and how everything is just disorganized, and then you got to make it organized by using the mind mapping strategy. I can relate that to speaking as well, my area of expertise, where you have to present a speech and you need a perfect organization of ideas in your head, or it just goes different ways. You can't present it in the right, confident way possible. So how do you think we can apply it as a beginner? So, what are some of the strategies or technique that you can teach our listeners to apply mind mapping?
Okay. Moment I say mind mapping, it's not just a tool. Though even for the simplicity of understanding or teaching, I mostly use the term that, okay, mind mapping is a tool that helps you think better. But I would say it's not a tool. It's something that you got to imbibe into your daily life by using it in everything that you do. For example, now that you have organized this podcast, so you might have had a planning phase where okay, there's this other criteria based on which I'm going to select the people for this podcast. And then these are the questions I'm going to ask. These are the things, okay, this is the time duration. So you have a proper plan. So whether you're planning a podcast like this, or maybe you are organizing a birthday party, or you have maybe you have a course and you want to launch it in the market, a product, and you want to define your customer persona, or you are writing a book, giving a speech, everywhere where thinking is involved, you need a mind map, because our brain do not think linearly. Now when I say this, let's give me an example. Okay, let me tell you apple. Okay, just let's say the word apple, and the moment I say the word apple, I can bet and say, based on my experience, that none of us, whoever will be listening this, will ever think that, okay, apple is apple, apple, and then point number one, apple is a fruit, point number two. So our brain cannot think in bullets and sentences and paragraphs. Brain thinks radiantly, that is, it thinks several things at one time, and ideas just pop up, like I would say, if you can visualize the sun rays, the center is the core, and from all the direction the rays are coming out, so ideas also come out like that. So the moment we mimic, mind mapping mimics the way your brain thinks. So when we use mind mapping, we give a structure to everything. Now let's say public speaking, for example. When we say public speaking, you got to have the first 30 seconds, or maybe the first 10 seconds of the speech. What are you going to speak? Then what is going to be your hook? What is going to be your emotion? How are you going to capture the audience so that they don't leave you halfway? All of that comes in a structure. It's so when you use mind mapping, you can actually plan out all of that, whether you are just planning that I want to start my speech with a metaphor, or I want to start my speech with XYZ, whatever the technique that you want for capturing the audience. So you write that, you draw a central theme and you put a branch and you draw that. You keep on, the ideas keep on coming. So mind mapping will help all your ideas without judging yourself to flow out of your brain on a paper. And it is not just me who it is saying, it is a research science-backed technique that helps your brain think creatively, think with absolute clarity, and gives it a structure and organize things in a manner that, even if you're a public speaker and you want to give a 30-minute speech, or let's say 1 hour, I'm not talking about TEDx that is just 17 or 18 minutes. I'm talking about even bigger speech of longer duration. You will not need to memorize anything anymore, because you have already used mind map in the planning session. So yeah, it's wonderful actually. You can use it in every area of your life, as I said, from meeting agendas to organizing parties, from writing a book to giving speech, and just you name it, and I can tell you that it can be used everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so I can completely relate mind mapping with organization now. So even in giving a speech, the thoughts will be more organized when you're applying the strategies of mind mapping. That's really amazing to know more, and I would like to learn more about mind mapping on my own as well. So do you have any tips on mind mapping, as a beginner or as a student, as a professional? So what are some of the tips that you would recommend to beginners to apply?
All right. So number one tip is that you need to start, right? I would say our brains are very lazy. And I keep saying this to a lot of my students as well, that all our brains are lazy. We want to keep doing the old things the old way because that's our comfort zone and we love to be there, right? So if you have never used mind mapping, your brain is going to say that you have been doing so good without this for so long. It's just another trend. Live it and your life will still continue being the same. So you really don't need it because you are starting something new. So you have to tell your brain that, okay, let me decide. Okay, you have to take control over that. And yes, the first few days you might not actually feel it like, okay, it's just yet another flowchart kind of thing, but I'm saying it's not a flowchart. It's not some sort of random thing. It is a proper science-backed technique that can give you amazing transformational results. And for that to happen, you have to start and maintain at least I would say 17 minutes a day for the next few days. We all know that we need to practice 21 days for any habit, and I say 17 minutes for 365 days because I don't know if you just calculate 17 minutes into 365 is 100 plus hours. Okay. Which means that if only 17 minutes you're investing in a particular technique like mind mapping, by the end of the year, you would be, speaking about mind mapping, giving speeches, and you would become a master in it, at least in a level that you can not only apply it in your own life, but you can also help others use the same. So as I say, one is start. Don't listen to your brain that it's tough and all. You just maintain the consistency. Don't stop on the first or second day. Start and then, do it, use it in every area of your life. If you think that, okay, I don't want to use pen and paper, which is generally we recommend that when you start with pen and paper, use at least 3 to 4 color pens and take a paper of A3 or A4 size in a landscape mode and start drawing. But in case you are some tech savvy people who don't want to take those paper, pen, and you really feel bored of all that, then you go for digital tools. There are a lot of digital mind mapping apps that can be installed on your phone, and you can on the go, whether you're traveling on a metro, car, or wherever you are, you can start mind mapping. Ideas are coming. Generally, ideas come when you might be traveling in a metro and the ideas have just popped up. So just take out your phone, go to the app and start jotting down your ideas in a radiant manner. So make it a part of life. That's what I want to say. And once you have done that, then you will not need any advice or any tips. You will be the person giving the advice that, okay, this has worked for me and now I want other people to use it.
Oh, that's amazing. I understand that you just have to start the process and go on with the process and be consistent and don't listen to the brain when you are studying to apply mind mapping strategies. That's amazing to know, Dr. Subra. So we are moving to the next segment right now. It's about your TED Talk experience. So how did you get into TED and what topic did you choose to speak about?
Okay. So that was somewhere, I think, end of 2021. Never thought. I was just on the other side of the screen. I always watched a lot of TEDx talks and I found it very empowering. I found it was a very good utilization of my time. Like I read a lot of books, use, my time to watch videos like TEDx videos or some inspirational videos and all. And I always found it very fascinating how even a small idea could be so inspiring that it could help others do the same. And I wouldn't say that until mid of 2021, I even felt I should or I could become a TEDx speaker. So that was never in my mind. But somewhere around end of 2021, somewhere around November, I remember there were so many people, my mentees, in fact, my clients from different organizations, from corporates whom I teach mind mapping. They started saying that, okay, they came to know about my life story, about my background, about my childhood. And a lot of them started saying that, okay, you should speak on TEDx stage and why don't you apply, or why don't you see that if there's an opportunity? And I would say, okay, I was already giving speeches and all. I'm a public speaker, so I have spoken on a lot of platforms, but never TEDx. When I started sharing my story in snippets, we had a huge group, some 150 to 200 people were there in that group on a social media platform. And in that group, when I started sharing snippets of my life story that I actually eventually went and shared in full in TEDx, I started seeing that people started responding to it very positively and they wanted to hear more. And that is when I started reading that, okay, what is this TEDx all about? And I was so fascinated by this one sentence that I read about TEDx in one of the books, that if you have an idea or if you have a story and you think that it has the potential to inspire even one person, then you should go for it. If it can transform even one person's life, then you should go for it. And I was, okay, I am sure that it can transform many people's life, because if I can do it, so many other women out there would feel that, okay, they can do it too. So I need to put my story out there. And that was the inspiration. The story or the talk is about women empowerment. Basically, the theme is breaking the invisible yoke and embracing uncertainty. Now, there are two parts to this talk. One is breaking the invisible yoke. And when I say invisible yoke, I believe all human beings, and specifically women, we tend to create, we know that yoke is a wooden neck piece that is, tied around those oxen. So we human beings, and specifically women, we don't have it directly, but it's invisibly, we have created it for ourselves. Societal pressures, push and pulls of daily life, and so many other concerns, of course, self-limiting beliefs and all of that. And we have created it in such a manner that we don't even sometimes dare to dream. Forget about going for it, aspiring, but we don't even dare to dream. So the talk was about how, or I wouldn't say how, because everybody's how can be different, but how I had come from a background that nobody could even imagine that I would make it up to the university or the financial background or whatever, all of that, and how I made it to a place where I can confidently speak on a platform like this and all of that. So it was about women, how empowering women are already. We don't need to be empowered, actually. We are already there. And the next part of the talk was about embracing uncertainty, because if you remember, 2020, 2021 was not a great year for any of us in the world. We were in a terrible situation in lockdown, and also my business that whatever I was about to start had suddenly to be shifted from offline to online, and how all of that I dealt with, because we have to be very prepared to embrace uncertainty, and all the more because we are women. And I remember one part in the talk where I say that overnight, dramatically, we cannot change what the world perceives about women, but we can do one thing, and that is we can tell ourselves that we can do it, and we don't have to change and go and fight with the world. We just need to be confident. We have to break that yoke and just go for it. Once we are determined, once we see ourselves as beautiful, confident people, there's nobody else that we need to bother, and we have every right to aspire. We have every right to dream and make all those dreams. Yeah, so that was the talk.
That's amazing. I find the topic invisible yoke to be extremely catchy, and also it's something closely connected to women and what they are suffering in silence. So, as you said, you love public speaking and you are a public speaker as well, and you have seen TED stage and you have experienced it all by yourself. So, can you share 3 communication lessons you would like to give to listeners from your own experience from TED stage and also from your professional life as well?
I don't know if they can be considered tips. I think you are the better person to give the tips. I would share my experience and how I actually made it. And let me be very honest here. Back in 2019, when I was working in a college, I was very comfortable. Professor, I was very comfortable with students. You give me a mic, I would go to the stage, talk. I was very comfortable. When we came to screen, talking to the other person on the other side of the globe, maybe through a pinhole camera, that was like nerve-wracking for me. I would get nervous. If you asked me to do the same conversation back in 2018 or 19, I was very nervous. In 2020, I learned if I don't learn that skill, whatever I know, my knowledge is going to get wasted because I'm not able to speak to a camera. I feel nervous. So why I'm sharing this story with you is because what happened is, just before some time I mentioned to you about a group where there were some 150 to 200 people. And when I decided that, okay, I have to share my story on a larger platform. And not only this, I have to be more comfortable speaking to people on camera and not just on stage, not just with people sitting there in the auditorium, but even through on webinars and everywhere. So I started making videos. And in 2020, I just took up a challenge. Somebody said, okay, this is very difficult. Some professors and some, and we also believe sometimes we get very old school and we don't want to step out of comfort zone. I said, let me just go there and make videos. And every single day, I made 3 videos for 30 days. And I went live every day.
Yes.
Because that was the toughest thing for me, to go live, record and put it somewhere on the social media. That was fine. But to go live and at least 3 to 4 people or sometimes even 15 people would just come the moment they say, okay, somebody is live, and they would come and try to chat. So going live was difficult, and I thought I'll exactly take up that challenge. And for 30 days, every single day, 3 times in a day, I went live for 2 to 3 minutes to speak something. I was not even knowing the concept of vlogging that time, but I was actually vlogging. Breaking out of comfort zone, I think, would be my first tip, that if you are uncomfortable and you know about it, just go and do it. Nobody's going to think, only you are going to get better. Forget that there is someone existing out there. You just be there.
Yeah, I completely agree to that. Yeah, I just have to be in the process. Yes.
The next tip, I say that if you want to write a book, read a lot of books. Similarly, of course, I'm still in the learning process, but I would say that something that has helped me is I watch videos. It's not that I'm having my lunch and watching video, or I'm doing something and watching the video. If I am watching, I do intentional watching. I call it intentional watching because I'm listening to the sounds. I'm absorbing what the person is saying, the words, the body language and everything. It helps you as a public speaker when you are fully intentionally watching the video, and making videos have helped me communicate effectively, whatever you see today. So I won't say tips, but these are my personal experiences that has helped me. I read a lot of books. When you read a lot of books, you have a rich vocabulary bank. Otherwise, you'll be using those 10-15 words all the time. And you got to speak also. You have to have a cohort or people. You may be having a huge vocabulary bank. You know how to speak, but you don't have really people in your life, or maybe some friends or some people who are on the same wavelength with whom you can communicate on a daily basis. Because even that improves your fluency, the way you speak, the way you present yourself. So all of that, I think that has helped me. I had a group of people there out there. I had, people with whom I could just go live and share my video. I read a lot of books. So maybe all those have helped me along the way.
Yeah, Yeah, that's great. These are really amazing tips and strategies. You just have to be in the process, read a lot, and talk to people who you can resonate with. That's amazing, Dr. Subra. So we're just winding up this very productive session, and thank you so much for sharing a lot of tips on mind mapping. I'm sure that the listeners found it really helpful, and that we just have to get started first. We have to be consistent with the process, and we should not listen to our brain. And thank you so much again for sharing your TED experience as well. It's gonna help a lot of people listening to this, maybe aspire to be TED speakers, and to share your personal experience on how you overcame your nervousness with speaking before camera and how you overcame it as well. And that definitely is gonna help a lot of people who are just starting off as well. So again, a big gratitude for being present and sharing your valuable expertise with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Thank you so much.